Okay. Then I'm going to come down. I drop down to the 4-hour chart and I look at, because I'm doing this backwards. If I was doing this, when it was actually happening, then the prices, everything would be there, right? But so price action is right down in this area. So I'm going to take up here on TradingView. TradingView is the only thing I use, so it's the only thing I know. Uh, so I'm gonna put the price would be right in this area. Maybe it might have actually been right here. So that's where price is. Now, in order to get the positioning tool, the first thing we want to do is we want to look at um, our stop loss. We want to get that figured out before we do anything else. We're trying to decide if this is a trade or not. We like everything that's happening: structure, momentum, volume, right? VMS. And so now we're trying to see if there's enough room for profit here. So by dropping down to the 4-hour, what I found is that if you use the daily in order to do this, your stop loss is way, way further away than what you'd really want. And it just doesn't make sense. So I dropped down to the 4-hour to place my position tool. Now, what I need is I need to come up here to indicators, and all you got to do is put this. I've got it on my favorites, average true range. Okay, so the ATR, what we're going to be looking at is this number right here. Okay, so we're going to take the position tool and we're going to put it right at the top swing high, and then we're going to look down and we see that the ATR is at 16. Just it's the second two numbers there and disregard the very last one. So it's at 16. So now we're going to look to the right and we see it says 70.27. So 16 times 1.5 is 24. So we need to add 24 to that 27, which is 51. So we're going to put our stop loss up here at 51. You see how it is over there? Now the stop loss is at 51. Okay. Yeah, let's make it a little bit bigger here. You can see how close that came if you watch the other video on why we use the ATR times 1.5. This is one of the reasons right here. And okay, so now we can get the ATR out of there and we go back to the daily. That's all we were doing there was setting our stop loss. That's it. Now we're going to look at the daily to see if what makes sense. We want to see what is the next level that we think that the profit or that the market is going to go to. What's that next level? Well, ultimately, I mean, right here seems like that would be a pretty good one, right? Because that's where the next support is at. But that's not going to give us enough profit in here. So we kind of, you think about it. If we think that this market is in a downtrend and everything is showing us bearish pressure, if it's going to continue that downtrend, it's got to break below this swing low. Okay. So I'm going to put my profit target right in this area here, and which is pretty much where I have it right there. Now, this isn't a trade. We can't, well, it is a trade, but we can't go in at a market order. We have to take this one on a limit order. And the reason for it is because we have our profit target established, we have our stop loss established, but we need to have at least a 2-to-1 on profit. So now we're going to move up our entry until it's at least at 2. And, and I like to have a little bit more. I would put our entry right about there, right in the middle of this support and resistance. Okay, so that's what the trade would look like. And now it's sitting on a daily. So you got to remember, we're getting in over here. We didn't know that this was happening, but that's where our that's where the stop loss is based on ATR 1.5. And where our profit target is based on, it really comes down to common sense. And, I don't use trailing stops or anything like that. I let the market come down to where I think it's going to go and then take my profit from there. So that's one example. So let me see if I can find you another one here. Okay, this is euro to the pound, and I'm going to show you two examples here. So the first one, we took this trade right here based on the VMS 2.0, And after we determined that this was a trigger, that's a bullish engulfing candle that is exactly at the same place where we have upward momentum and a hook. Volume was strong, so now you look at this one and say, okay, what do we want to do here? Well, the first thing we have to do is we're going to drop down to the 4-hour chart. Then we got to come back here and find it, right? Okay, here it is. So on a 4-hour chart, oh, I forgot to make my line. Hang on just a second here, guys. So you can, I mean, this is real. This is what I go through every day, just looking at charts. Okay, so this was the engulfing candle. No, this was the engulfing candle trigger. So we're going to put a line right there. And when you're back testing, this is what you have to do. So I'm making videos after the fact. So, while I'm here, because I'm going to give you this one too. So I'm going to make a line right there. Okay. So this is going to be two examples with one pair. Now come back to the 4-hour. Way over here. Okay, so you can see this is where we are at. And so with the positioning tool, what I'm going to do now that I'm on the 4-hour, right? And we think this is going to go up, so we want to take the long position tool. And so here's where the market is at. And so we're going to place our position tool right there. Now, the only thing we're using the 4-hour for is to determine our stop loss, and this is ATR. So I'm going to take you through that real quick. So we have got, let's get the ATR tool up here. This is all part of using the positioning tool. Your stop loss is always first. Okay, so here's the swing low, and that's at 86.17. So when you look down here, it was at 12, right? Yeah, 12. So, and where am I at? 86.18 plus 12 plus 6, that gives us 36. Or check that, we got to deduct on this one. So we need to deduct 18 from 18, which puts us right here. Okay, now we go back up, and I'm going to do the same thing over on this one too. This will give you two examples, but now here we think it's going to go down, don't we? So we want the short position tool, and we got in right in this neighborhood, so it must have been right about there. And again, we're using the positioning tool. So here's the top of the swing high, and that's at 87.43. We have 11 on the ATR, so we need to add 11 times 1.5, which is another 6, let's call it. So I need to add 17, which puts me right at 60. Okay, now we're done with the 4-hour. Now we're going to come back to the daily chart. I'm going to get rid of the ATR here and come back to the daily. Oh, there we are right here. These are the two that we're working with. Okay, now what we have to do is we have to decide where we think our profit target would be before we can decide if we're coming in with an entry, a market order, or a limit order. So where do we think, looking at this chart, where do you think the price action probably will come back up to, right? So if you look at it, I'm looking over here, I see this area right here, win or lose, I see that as being a really strong area. This right in here, okay? Because we've had a lot of rejection, see all the rejection at that area. So that's where I would put my profit target, and that just happens to be right at 2. Okay, and I don't like paying full retail for anything, so now I'm going to get rid of that. Whoop, almost got rid of the wrong thing here. Let me see, there it is. Okay, that's the one I want out of there. So what I typically will do is I'll come in. I do a lot of limit orders, and I'll come in somewhere right around here, and thinking that that would be a pretty good deal if we could get that at that price, right? So that's what we set it at. And now we look at it. So now this is a limit order. And obviously we got filled on our limit order, and our ATR 1.5 ATR times 1.5 kept us from getting stopped out here, where price action actually went just below this swing low right here. See how that happened, guys? So if you had your stop loss right there, you would have got stopped out. This is where ours is. We did not get stopped out, and in fact, we got our profit on it. So now let's go to the next one. So positioning tool. So we have 87.43.11 plus 5 is 16. 43 puts us at 60. I think maybe we already had that. Okay. Well, who doesn't love looking at charts, right? Especially when they're making you money. Okay, let's come back over here. All right. So now we have our stop loss. Okay. So that whole thing um, about your stop loss is that when you're using the position tool, you drop down to the 4 hour to place your stop loss with the ATR. Okay. And then you come back to the daily and look at the daily. It's common sense, man. A lot of it is common sense. Where do you think, if you think this market is going to be in a downtrend, where do you think the market could probably make it to? Well, in my mind, I'm thinking it could probably, I'm not going to go all the way down here, but I'm going to come just a little bit above it, like right about there. Okay, that's where I think the market will go to. And what does that give us? Gives us 2.3. But again, don't like paying retail for anything. So I would give it just a little bit more, maybe right about there. So that's about 2.8. And you can see we took a 3. So it must have been just a fuzz above that. Oh, I had it there. Okay, there it is. Now we'll bring the position tool out, and you can see what happened here. It took a couple of weeks, but we did get our profit on it. So that is how, that's 3 examples of using the positioning tool.